Hi, my name is Lexa SKye. I am from the Midwest, grew up in Kansas, and have lived in the Tampa area for the last 6 years now. I was a farm kid, born and raised on a farm, and left the Midwest as a teenager, and just kind of always knew that there was more to life than the small town that I grew up in. Was lucky to get a bit of a world view and have some opportunities as a child to kind of see maybe what was available to me as far as opportunities. I grew up very, very fortunate. I always considered myself to be a bit of a dreamer. I think clinically they call it ADD, but I call it being multi-passioned. Growing up, my piano teacher actually told me that I was a jack of all trades and master of none, and I really took that to heart because I believe that there are lots of things that I'm good at and lots of things that I pursue that I succeed. So I did a lot of things as a child. I was big into equestrian, big into sports, big into music, actually classically trained violinist and pianist. Traveled the world with some of those talents, but I never really knew exactly what I wanted to do because I just love so many things and I consider myself to be something of a connoisseur of life. So I've just kind of, my path has been, I wouldn't say whimsical. I take what I do very seriously, but my career has changed quite a bit. I wanted to cook, and it's funny because when I graduated high school early at 17 and wanted to go to culinary school, which I did. I moved away to the city from my hometown and studied French cuisine. And with that, I actually wanted to go to Australia when I was 18 years old and cook because, get a visa, see the world. I've always loved travel, so that's always been a part of my dream and my passions. But I've kind of just gone wherever the wind has blown me. And in the beginning, when I was younger, my first marriage was at age 19. I think that I used men to sort of, as a catalyst, to kind of a gateway to figure out where I wanted to go and discover different things in life. But once I figured out who I was, I would say brain maturity, 25 years old, I started to realize that I was really interested in fitness. It was something that was a big part of my life, and I started a fitness company, and which I still own. So that's something that has been just kind of part of my life, and I've always pursued that. But in the adult industry, I would say that it kind of just comes from a lot of different places. My love of people, my love of connection, and the fact that I'm a very sexual person. So how I got into the industry is a bit of a story. I was married the first time when I was 19 years old to a very artistic guy. He was actually a photographer, a very talented photographer. And a lot of my modeling kind of started there. He would use me as a model to practice with, and just to do some things. I did some different campaigns, and so the modeling, my first husband kind of was like the gateway, I would say, opening my eyes a little bit more to like modeling and putting myself out there physically. Just who I am as a person, more outwardly on the outside, what that looks like. So I did some modeling, did some runway work for a swimwear company, actually, while I was married the first time, and lived in New Mexico for the 6 years that I was married there. But essentially, I was working in the corporate world at the time, and kind of just supporting his hobbies and dreams instead of my own to be discovered. So that started to wear on me mentally, and there was kind of a lot of control with that too. I just felt like I was funding someone else's dreams instead of doing anything to help me with my own or doing things that I enjoyed. So I felt that I needed to move home back to the Midwest and get divorced. There was a lot of profession profession. Yes, I was living a professional life in the corporate world, but repression is actually what I meant to say. During that time, I just felt like I was just in this box, and get dressed up for work every day and put on your face and go and be this ultra professional person that actually really doesn't have a lot to do with who I am and myself. So I always had this dream that I wanted to dance. Unfortunately, growing up, I was raised in a very Catholic home, so a very religious home, very disciplined home, and a lot of the things that I wanted to do to express myself were frowned upon. My mom was a lingerie model. She did some lingerie modeling, but she never wanted me to model, even though I was scouted as a kid. So that was just something that was just off the bat, not an option. So of course I wanted to do it, being rebellious just a little bit. So on top of that, it was just like, I also wanted to dance. I always wanted to be on dance team or cheer squad. And that was another thing that my mom said, no, this is not what you're going to do. Instead, you're going to play the violin and you're going to play piano. So I was put on the piano bench when I was 5 years old and made to practice every day, with a timer. And my life was just so disciplined and so defined for me from an early age that I think I had this rebellion inside of me where I just kind of wanted to do everything I was told that I wouldn't, that I couldn't, just because that was kind of my parents' agenda. So with that, I wanted to dance. After my divorce, I had quite a bit of debt, and I was free, so that was the most important thing to me, but I wanted to make a lot of money really fast. So I actually had 3 jobs, quit the corporate world. And like I said, I really focused on my fitness company. I was teaching yoga. I was managing yoga studio. I was running dogs and pet sitting. And then at night, I would go to the club and I would dance. And in the Midwest, there's a huge demand. Just imagine, the guys, little farm guys, and that's their source of entertainment. There's not a lot of entertainment in the Midwest, and a lot of this repression that I'm talking about, sexual repression. So I did very well. I was very, very, very successful, and it really helped me that I also have a brain. And so I kind of was a bit above the rest as it pertained to being able to hold a conversation. And so I would travel, and a group of girls and we would go to different clubs. We would go to Iowa. We would do little things and little trips for the weekend, and we just kind of rake it in at these clubs on the weekend and then go home, back to Kansas. And that was great for a while. And then I met my now ex-partner, and we actually met on Tinder. And when I met him, he was actually very honest with me, and he told me pretty much out the gate that he was a dancer. He was a stripper, and I think it maybe have been a little bit of fishing in the moment, but I was very accepting of that. I'm like, hey, really interested in this myself, kind of just started doing it too. And it was kind of a point of connection. We had a lot of things in common at the time, and I think both of us were also trying to figure out who we were. And a lot of our journey together over the last 6 years has been about that. Just growing, and a lot of that growth has actually been through the adult industry. So I met him, and we were both dancing at the time, and he had also done some modeling and some other work, and asked me kind of how I would feel if he started doing some more adult, along the lines of adult modeling and that type of thing. And I said, sure, of course. You can do that, but I'd like to do it too. I would feel better about it if something we were doing together. So we did, and kind of formed a brand together as a couple for about 6 years, and then individually our own brands. So a lot of that comes along with it is you figure out who you are in this industry just because of like what works for you and the type of clients that you attract as a person. And then that becomes your brand. And you kind of fine tune that over the years. And there's so many opportunities in the adult industry to do pretty much anything you want. I mean, you can do OnlyFans, you can get into video work. There's so many modeling opportunities that pertains to lingerie and swimwear, all those types of things, fine art. So I've done a lot of that. And last year, this last spring, I just shot for Playboy Australia, their May issue, and had a 10-page spread, as well as a photo shoot and an interview that went along with that. And then I was nominated to campaign for the Playboy store's newest lingerie line. So I'm in the middle of that right now. But that is kind of how my career has transpired. So I would have to say that my biggest strengths in this industry are my ability to connect with people. I've always been a people person from the time I was a kid, and one of the things my parents did kind of instill in me were some leadership qualities. I learned how to connect with people, just people, older people, younger people, people from different walks of life, people that, unfortunately, were not as fortunate as I am. And I think that is what has carried me through, because I can always find something in a person that I adore. It doesn't matter who they are. And teaching yoga for so many years as well, it's like you kind of learn that too, because you want to appreciate your student. And so whomever you're with, you're trying to connect with them so that they can have the deepest experience and so that you can have the deepest experience. So that's something that I've really kind of focused on, and I think has set me apart. So that ability to connect, as well as just, I think, the talent of being a person who has had a lot of life experiences in a short amount of time. That helps me with that as well, because I relate to people on a lot of different levels. So that would be my strength. I would say that my biggest weakness being in this world is that I'm a pleaser, and I do want to make everyone happy. I'm always the hostess with the mostest, and I do tend to exhaust myself, and I will go so hard and forget to rest. And in this lifestyle, there are a lot of demands mentally, because you're always on. I don't have a schedule. I'm on 24 hours a day, well, not 24 hours. I have to set personal boundaries for myself. But I'm always on. I'm kind of ready. I have to be on my A game. There's a lot that goes with that, keeping your body in shape and really taking care of yourself. It takes a lot of time. So I think my weakness would be maybe foregoing that sometimes and going too hard, forgetting to rest, to the point where I get run down. But I think a lot of that also stems from my passion for the industry as well. So, where do I see myself in 5 to 10 years? So I recently just took a 2-week trip to Australia. I was there to volunteer for a marine conservation project, and then did some touring around and spending some time with friends during my time there as well. And it was just very it was perspective for me that I need to have another career, because I'm 32 years old, and the youngest I got recently was 24, so I'm doing pretty well. But I need to start thinking about that, because for women in this industry, yes, of course you can model into your 40s, but I don't want to, because now it's not that I don't enjoy doing the work that it takes to keep myself in prime physical condition, but it's a lot of work and a lot of energy and a lot of time, and I would like to have another career. So I will actually be going to real estate school at the end of January. And I have a 3 to 5 year plan to transition into selling luxury properties. That's what I want to do. I plan to stay in Florida. I love it here. I would love to travel more internationally. And those are my goals. Just kind of change paths. I don't want to stop completely, but I would like to slow down a little bit just to enjoy the life that I've created for myself, because it moves fast. So, it moves very fast. It's interesting. So as I alluded to earlier, I was brought up in a very strict religious home, very, I would say, morally driven home as far as what we define morals by religion. And that didn't really stick with me. So unfortunately, it's difficult for me because I wish that I could be 100% honest with my family. I do believe that, your parents and your immediate family are supposed to be the people in your life that accept you for whoever you are and support you no matter what you're doing, as long as you're taking care of yourself and you're healthy and you're safe and you're successful. But that hasn't been the case for me. So I have shared with a few of my very close friends, and I have a brother and a sister. They both know what I do. And my sister is she's a little more straight-laced. We don't talk about it, but I wanted to be honest with her because that's very important to me. Honesty and transparency. And my brother, he and I are very close, very similar. So we talk about everything. And that makes me feel really good that I can be completely open with him, and we can have conversations about like funny stuff that happened or crazy stuff that happened. And I know he's never gonna judge me. If anything, we're gonna laugh about it. But as far as my parents go, my mom, I recently kind of came out to her a little bit within the last 6 months, actually. And she knows that I do some modeling that she would consider to be risque. And I knew she could relate to that just because of her experiences as well. And that's all she knows. And I think that's great. It made me feel better that I could finally just be a little bit more honest with her. But, not everyone in my personal life knows what I do. I wish that you could be open and honest with everyone and that they wouldn't judge you. But we're all human. So it's funny that you asked that. A lot of people ask me that question. Do I ever worry about contracting, a sexually transmitted illness, doing OnlyFans work and video work, collaborating, creating content? I do not. My health is my number one priority. I never make any uneducated decisions as it pertains to that. There is a service that us adult industry people use called Talent Testing Services, TTS. It's a database of everyone in the industry. And if you're serious about making videos, and those are the only people that I collaborate with, then we're all in that network. And essentially, it's a wonderful service. You go in, you get your blood work done, your full panels, and that information and those results are available to everyone in your network, and it can be requested via ID number. It's very helpful, and it makes it feel very safe. So I do not know. So last January, I started an entirely new OnlyFans page after 3 years of doing something entirely differently that was related to my last relationship. So I had to rebrand myself kind of as a single person, and had to figure out like why someone would want to watch, subscribe to Lexa's OnlyFans. So there were some things that I took over from the old page. I've always had a weekly little spot where I come on. It's called Lexa Talks a Latte, and sometimes I'll do an Ask Me Anything. Sometimes I'll just chat, and I'm always drinking a coffee or like whatever it is, and then I just talk. And that's like something that my subscribers come on and they look forward to watching every week. So in addition to that, I do girl content, but I figured out really quickly that that's a very specific audience. And it was a little frustrated in the beginning because all of my old followers and all of my old subscribers from the prior 3 years, they all wanted something different. They were looking for like the hot wife content, like that type of thing. And honestly, I mean, I just wasn't in the place to do that, to continue doing that. One, I was no longer in the relationship, and two, it just didn't fit with who I was. So now I have started shooting with a lot of of couples and performers, but it has to be someone that I truly connect with, and that's what really brings out the best in me as it pertains to the video. And I think that's why people want to watch, because when I am with someone that I'm having a great time with, that I find, interesting, and there's a connection and there's attraction, then that is what brings the best content. So I think we're onto something now. I see myself in this industry 3 to 5 more years. Focused 3 years, but also transitioning into a new career. Past 5 years, maintaining select relationships. That's kind of how I look at this, because I have made so many friends and wonderful connections that I don't want to lose. So I would say, as a career, 3 to 5 years, and then I'm just gonna continue to go with the flow and move on to a new career. So what is my biggest fear? I really try not to live my life being governed by fear, because I think that we miss out on so many wonderful experiences if we're unable to let go. I think some of my biggest fears are definitely loss. I've lost a lot of people that are extremely close to me, and not just in the sense of relationships, but my best friend committed suicide just over 1.5 years ago, and I've just lost a lot of people that are close to me. And so you learn kind of by force how to let go and how to grieve. And I think I've always just had this fear of loss, and it's been a painful lesson, but I have learned how to go on from that and to find the strength from other people's lives and their experiences. So if I fear anything, I think that it's just losing people. Advice that I would give to a young lady coming into the modeling adult industry would be probably just to stay true to yourself, take care of yourself first and foremost, and always set boundaries with your time and your energy, because we are human and we do have limitations, and if we don't honor those things, then you will absolutely fall to your demise. And it's happened to me. I mean, you get sick and then you can't work because you're ill. It's like, I would say that's my number one piece of advice. Stay true to yourself and take care of yourself. I was 15. It's a terrible story. So I told my mom that I was going bowling, and I was actually dropped off at the bowling alley. Did I bowl? No, I did not. It was not memorable. It's like at that age, it's kind of just like, you just get it over with, and then you learn from that experience, just like any experience. I don't know if everyone has a beautiful first time. I definitely didn't. Yeah. Does size matter? I think that skill matters over size, but I think that size can also be a factor. I think I can say anything, right? Boyfriend dick is a thing. It's good. It's always good, and you can keep going for days and hours and you're fine. I think that yes, but also no. I think that if a man is confident and if he knows how to use what he has been blessed with, then everything will go well.